gosh, you guys, I cannot talk. I look ridiculous. Welcome to my channel. I look ridiculous, but that's the goal here, right? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, sorry, this is probably gonna scare you away, but I decided to do a Winifred Sanderson for my makeup look for Halloween because I wanted to do something that's gonna stretch me, so not just like a glam look, something a little bit more theatrical and not so pretty, because I haven't done something like that before. So I decided to go with Winifred Sanderson because Hocus Pocus was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid. I just loved it, watched it every year, not even just on Halloween, but throughout the year. So I knew this would be really fun for me to kind of like relive my childhood through this recreation. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial, and if you're interested in seeing how I came up with this Winifred Sanderson makeup look, then please keep watching. Alright guys, to get started, I'm going to divide my hair into sections. I'm going to spray with TRESemme Heat Protectant Spray first, and then I'm going to curl about 1 to 1.5 inch sections with my curling wand, and I'm going to hold it there for about 10 seconds before I release that curl into my hand. Once I release that curl into my hand, I'm going to roll it up to my scalp, pin it there with a couple of bobby pins. I'm going to repeat this process on each side. And I want to make sure to curl the curls away from my face as opposed to toward my face. So that's going to help add extra volume for when I pin all of this hair up at the end of the video. Once all of those curls are pinned up against my head, I'm going to go ahead and spray all of my hair with some hairspray just to set it, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started on my makeup. For my makeup, I'm going to use this Profusion Conceal palette. I'm going to grab the shade Pear, and I'm going to apply that all over my face. And once I brush that all over my face, I'm going to go ahead and blend it all in with a beauty blender. Now Winifred has some really blonde brows, and as you can see, mine are pretty blonde too. So instead of actually covering up my entire brow, I'm just going to grab the lightest shade of concealer in this palette. It's called Vanilla, and I'm going to apply that all over my lips and all over my brows just to lighten them up even more, and that's going to create a nice base on my lips as well for the kind of crazy pursed up fish lip shape that she has in the movie. Next, I'm going to take a combination of cappuccino and espresso, and I'm going to use that to contour or carve out the features of Winifred on my face. So I'm literally just looking at a picture of her and trying to imitate what I see. So I want to make those cheekbones really prominent. I want to widen my nose by taking the contour out further on the sides and then making the tip of my nose more round, and then bringing the tip of the nose contour down further than I normally would. Then of course I'm going to shadow right underneath my lip to help the lips look more pursed up, and then I'm going to exaggerate my natural dark circles underneath my eyes to look more like her in the movie as well. Once I'm kind of happy with what I've got, I'll start blending that all out with my finger. I want to blend with my finger instead of the beauty blender because I want the blend to be super focused in those areas. I don't want it to be blended out too much. I just want it to be blended but still very visible, if that makes sense. For the cheek contour, I'm going to bring it up a little higher than I normally would, where the natural hollows of my cheeks are, because her cheekbones are higher and bigger than mine. And so that is what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend that out with my finger as well. I want to make sure to set all of that with my Airspun translucent powder. So I have a really small chin, and Bette Midler has a really defined longer chin, and so I'm just basically trying to carve out my chin in a way to make it look more defined and longer. I'm not sure I'm entirely happy with how it turned out, but I definitely feel like it made a difference. It made it look a little bit more like her as opposed to leaving my chin the way that it was. Then I'm going to take this Southern Magnolia Minerals eyeshadow in the shade Cashmere. It's a very cool tone brown, or like a gray brown, and this is going to really help to create more of a shadow in those areas where I've carved out her features. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply that over all the areas that I've already contoured on my face. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize a million times over now for how many times I put that darn contour palette in front of the camera and block the view for you guys. I'm so sorry. I did not realize how many times I did that. That's so annoying. I was just so focused on what I was doing here that I wasn't paying attention to where I was placing it. So I hope you guys can still get the gist of what I'm doing. Again, I'm just going over my entire face with that translucent powder again, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab my Morphe 35C palette, and I'm going to use this pink shade in there for a blush. And as you can see, I applied way too much blush, but I do lighten that up here in a minute, so do not worry. But I'm really focusing that blush just on the apples of my cheeks in the very front, and I'm not going to bring it back at all because I really want the front of my cheeks to be really, really pink like hers are in the movie. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab that brown shade from the same Morphe palette, and I'm going to go ahead and place that all into my upper crease area. I am being really generous with it because her eyes seem to be very like brown, very neutral, but kind of dark and really shaded, and I'm not trying to make this super pretty because to me, her eye makeup does not look like super blended well or super nice. It's just kind of messy, natural, really dark shaded eye look, if that makes sense. So that's just what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to bring that same brown shade along the lower lash line. I'm going to bring it all the way into the inner corner and just kind of back up and around my crease. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do on my lid yet, but as you can see here in a moment, I just decided to go ahead and bring that brown down onto my lid as well and just kind of keep it all one shade of brown. Her eye look in the movie seems to be very, 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 very simple. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that. It's safe. And I felt like it looked pretty similar. And then I'm going to grab this Hikari eyeliner pencil in the shade black, and I'm going to run that along my lower waterline and then along my tight line as well. And I'm just going to curl my lashes. I'm not going to apply any falsies because her lashes seem very natural in the movie. They don't seem very long or dramatic. So instead I'm just going to apply this Tarteist mascara by Tarte Cosmetics, and that's it. And then I decided that the apples of my cheeks on either side of my nose there just needed more definition, more depth. So I'm just coming back in with that same brown shadow that I used to contour earlier, and I'm going to darken that up a bit and just make them look even more plump. Then I'm just going back in and touching up the other areas of my face where I contoured as well. And this was about the point that I realized I'm looking pretty scary. Now I'm grabbing a fluffy brush with no product on it, and I'm using that to blend out the blush on the apples of my cheeks just to soften it up a bit. And then I'm going to grab my Morphe 35C palette. I'm using a little bit of that white and that cream shadow to highlight certain areas of my face that I want to bring forward even more. So all the areas that I contoured, just right above those areas, I'm applying the white shadow just to plump them up and give the illusion that they're even more lifted. Now I'm going to take this Italia Deluxe lip liner pencil in the shade Rich Red, and I'm going to use that to outline the shape of Winifred's lips. Now this was much more difficult than I anticipated. I think partly because my lips are actually a little bit more full than Bette Midler's lips are, and so I had a really hard time trying to make my lips look like hers in the movie. So I think in the end it ended up looking still too big, but still silly enough to work. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in my lips with that lip liner pencil, and that's gonna be a nice base for the lipstick that I'll apply next. For lipstick, I'm using this Lipler Hydrating Lip Lacquer by Pure Cosmetics, and it's in the shade Fiery. And I learned the hard way, but this is not a matte lipstick, and because I didn't fill in my entire lips, it started transferring all over the place, and I was losing that shape, so I grabbed a little bit of my translucent powder, and I used that to mattify the lipstick so that didn't happen. And then my camera died, so this was the end of the makeup, and now here you just missed me taking the bobby pins out, so it's not too big of a deal. So I'm just kind of fluffing the hair up and making sure I got all those bobby pins out before I pin it all up. And I'm taking the top half of my hair and I'm pinning that back, and then the bottom half I'm going to grab and I'm going to roll it in the back, kind of like I would do a French roll, except for I'm going to leave the rest of the hair up at the top there instead of pinning it into the French roll, if that makes sense. Like, I want to keep those curly ends up there to just give more fullness to the hair look that I'm doing here. So hopefully that makes sense, but since I'm speeding it up, I wanted to explain a little bit too, so that hopefully you won't miss all the details. I'm going to take the top section of my hair out and I'm going to tease all of that hair really good right at the roots, just to create even more volume so that I can have that really big kind of messy crazy updo that Bette Midler has in Hocus Pocus. And after I'm done teasing all of that hair, I'm going to grab the left half of my hair first, and I'm going to kind of do like a barrel roll going back, and then I'm going to pin that just like you would do a French roll like I did in the back, except for you're going to turn it sideways and do it at the top, if that makes sense. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here and that won't be so confusing. And then I'll go ahead and repeat that on the other side as well, and I'll pin the center too, but then later on I'll kind of start tugging and pulling just to give it even more volume and just to help it look a little bit more messy. I wanted my hair to resemble more what her hair looked like later in the movie when she was more disheveled, and I just thought it would be more fun to have that super messy hair look that she had. So that's what I was going for here. At this point, I was just playing around with my hair. There's not really any rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of pulling certain areas out to make them look more full, and then I'm pulling certain pieces of hair out to make it look more messy, and then I'm grabbing the extra hair from the back and letting those curls kind of lay on either side just to give even more of a messy full look. And yeah, I just did this for a little while until I was happy with what it looked like. Now I'm going to grab my Morphe 35C palette again and use a combination of those two browns. One has a little bit of an orange hue to it, so it matches my red hair a little bit better, and I'm going to use that to shade in along my hairline, along my forehead there, to create an illusion of a widow's peak. Now I'm just going to take my curling wand and do some last minute adjustments to my hair. I'm curling some of those wispies just to make them stick out more and look a little bit more crazy. And then that is it for this Winifred Sanderson recreation for Halloween that I did. And I really, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun doing it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.